The bitter cold of a Cincinnati winter gnawed through the city streets. Snowflakes swirled under the dim glow of streetlights, covering everything in a ghostly hush. Logan Hayes, a former military sergeant, walked briskly along the empty sidewalk, hands shoved deep into his pockets. He wasn't thinking about the cold. He wasn't thinking about much at all. Until he saw it. A dark, motionless figure near the dumpster. A dog. Thin, filthy, shaking uncontrollably from the freezing wind. Logan stopped mid-step, his pulse quickening. Something about the dog felt familiar. The dog stirred weakly, lifting his head for just a second. That's when Logan saw it. The scar. A long, jagged mark running across the dog's hind leg. Logan's breath caught in his throat. It couldn't be. He knelt down, ignoring the ice seeping through his jeans. His voice, raw with disbelief, broke the silence. Shadow? The dog's dull eyes flickered, a faint glimmer of recognition flashing within them. Logan reached out, gently placing his hand on Shadow's head. That was all it took. Shadow's entire body shuddered, not from the cold, but from the flood of emotion, the sheer relief of finding someone familiar in a world that had abandoned him. The war memories rushed back. Afghanistan, the mission, the explosion, the moment Shadow had saved his life. Logan's hands curled into fists. His war hero had been left to rot in the streets. Someone was going to pay for this. Logan carried Shadow to his truck, wrapping him in his own military jacket. "Hang in there, buddy. You're safe now." As he drove to the emergency vet, his hands shook with rage. The military told him Shadow was adopted into a loving home after retirement. But this wasn't a loving home. This was hell. At the clinic, the vet ran her hands gently over Shadow's frail body, her face grim. Severe malnutrition, signs of abuse. This dog has been on the streets for weeks, maybe months. Logan's stomach twisted. Months? His best friend, the one who had saved him countless times, had been left to starve. "Who did this?" Logan demanded. The vet sighed. "That's the real question." Logan knew where to find the answer. He made a call. Then another. Then another. Each person he spoke to fed him the same lie. That Shadow had been adopted into a good home. But something was off. There was no record of where, no name, no address, nothing. Logan felt something dark and ugly claw at his chest. Shadow wasn't just forgotten. He had been erased. Logan wasn't just a soldier. He was an investigator. He dug into Shadow's retirement papers. At first glance, everything looked standard. Then he saw it. A redacted section under adoption details. Why would adoption records be classified? Logan pulled out his laptop. Using an old military contact, he gained access to restricted personnel logs. And then, the bombshell. Shadow hadn't been adopted. He had been sold to a private military firm, a company notorious for using retired military dogs in extreme training exercises until they were too weak to fight. When the dogs were no longer useful, they were discarded. Or worse. Shadow was supposed to be dead, but he survived. He escaped. He found his way back to the only person he had ever trusted. Logan. Logan saw red. This wasn't just neglect. This wasn't just a mistake. This was a crime. And Logan was about to unleash hell. Logan tracked down the company responsible. They operated under a different name now, probably to avoid lawsuits, but Logan wasn't fooled. He drove to their headquarters, an unmarked facility in the industrial part of town. Walking through the front doors, he was met with fake smiles and rehearsed lines. "Sir, I'm not sure what you're talking about. We only deal in legally retired canines." "Perhaps there's a misunderstanding." Logan slammed a folder on the desk. Inside, proof, leaked contracts, records of dogs being sold off to mercenary groups, reports of animals being abandoned when they were no longer useful. The manager's face lost color. "You don't understand how things work," he stammered. Logan leaned in. "Number, you don't understand. These dogs saved lives. They saved my life, and you tossed them away like garbage." The manager tried to brush him off, but Logan had one more card to play. He pulled out his phone. On the screen, a news journalist waiting for a call. "You either give me answers, or the world finds out about this tonight." The manager's mask crumbled. Hours later, the media storm erupted. Breaking news: military dogs sold and abandoned exposed. The scandal spread like wildfire. Outrage poured in from veterans, animal rights activists, and everyday citizens. The military launched an investigation. The corrupt company was shut down, and most importantly, more dogs were saved. For the first time in months, Shadow wasn't cold. He wasn't hungry. He wasn't alone. Logan sat beside him, stroking his fur. "You're home, buddy." Shadow let out a deep sigh, curling up next to Logan. The past was over. The fight was won. But Logan knew one thing. This wasn't just Shadow's story. There were still hundreds of military dogs out there, waiting for their heroes to come back for them. Subscribe to our channel for more powerful stories of love, loyalty, and resilience. Like this video to show your support. Share this story, because more people need to know the truth. Justice was served this time. But how many more shadows are still out there? Let's fight for them, together.